I'm super excited about today because my buddy Norm is on the show. So welcome to the show, Norm, first and foremost.
Thank you guys. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. Norm is my buddy from Costa Rica. We met over a spilled coffee picture on Facebook was our introduction, and Jameson and Bailey's, ensued shortly after, and I was like, that's my dude right there, and he's from Connecticut.
Though, to be clear, I think it was more Jameson's for you and Bailey's for me. So there goes my man cred, but,
Tomato, you know what I'm saying?
The same family.
Right.
Yeah. Same drunken breakfast, you know what I mean? So, so I'm excited because, Norm's got a podcast, right? But what I really am excited about is that Norm, unfortunately, couldn't buy it from you because apparently we can't get things from you in Costa Rica. But he bought a set of the Rode Go-To wireless jammy jams, right? And he's been recording podcasts with them and is having issues. And so I thought, what a better way than to workshop this live with the equipment guy and the
do it.
And
right.
the audio
It can't
nerd.
all be Molly's Women's Empowerment Hour. You know what I mean? We gotta do some tech stuff in this Mickey Flicky, right? So
I'm here for it.
So we're gonna get some background on Norm because Norm is super fucking rad and he's got a great story to tell. And then we're gonna figure out how to make these things work in a practical way for Norm, who's traveling around the world and interviewing people, amazing, interesting people like myself. Right? So we want to make sure because I recommended these things, right? So I want to make sure that I didn't send them down the wrong path and recommending the wrong thing. And there's nobody better in my mind that can answer these questions.
Cool.
You
Let's do it.
So
Boom.
you want me to jump in with my road problems, which will probably be so rudimentary and ridiculous that you guys will probably solve it in 2 minutes.
Yeah, tell us about your show.
Tell us who the hell you are and what you do.
Who are you, Norm?
Yeah, my name's Norm, from Connecticut, like we mentioned before, and a good East Coast boy. Lived in California a long time, and then was in the rat race of real estate and mortgage, like everyone and their mother at the time. So around 2011, I was like, I need to get the hell out and do something with my life, so I'm not doing this for 40 years on repeat. And moved down to Costa Rica. This was 2011, and did a year there. Did a year in Nicaragua after that, and just kept rolling. And actually have lived for about 11 years now. Lived and worked abroad, and I do just basic digital marketing and copywriting stuff. Still in real estate, mortgage, personal finance. But I started a fun little podcast probably about 8 months ago or something. I was, bopping around and meeting all these super interesting, weird, bizarre, crazy, genius, idiot, savant, I don't know which one, people, right? And I was like, I have to document this somehow. And I'm not a video dude. I love old school radio and audio. So I said, let me do a podcast. So it's called Who in the World? And basically just each episode is sitting down with a person and they get to tell their story. And it could go any different way, any direction. We don't really have a script or talking points of what we're going to cover. It's just sort of freestyling. And I've done about, I think, 9 of them now. And I have about 47 of them where I've sent invites to people. And they're like, I don't see the upside in that, like confessing on your podcast. But it's been a lot of fun and still trying to work out the technology part of it. Which, of course, Molly has been super helpful with.
Awesome.
So how long has the podcast actually been going on now?
I think it's been about, I should probably know this, huh? I think it's been around 6, 7, 8 months, something like that.
Cool.
But you've gotten some decent downloads. You got more downloads than we do, I'm pretty sure. So
I don't want to brag, but my mom did download it 1,000 times.
There you go.
Episode, so I don't know if that counts. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah, thanks.
Your mom's got a wall of burner phones in West Hartford. She's just cranking them out.
Yeah. She has a bunch of people in there, like a sweatshop with no bathroom breaks under a dirty light bulb, huh?
Click farm.
New and noteworthy.
You heard it here first, everyone. Mom.
That's right.
That's the secret.
Yeah.
That's the secret. But the other secret, of course, is everyone's favorite topic is themselves, right? And so when you do something about someone else, ostensibly, hopefully, they're going to also share it with their circle and their followers and their audience, whether that's big or small. And or even like in Tamarindo or in Costa Rica, you get local people here who listen just because it's a local, production or a local person. So sort of leveraging, I don't have a following. I don't know people, but I know people who know people, right? That sort of thing.
Norm knows everybody in Costa Rica. Everybody. He's lying. He knows everybody. Yeah.
I'm curious, you're in digital marketing, so what is like your strategy for getting downloads and for having people hear your podcast?
Well, the two are sort of separate. The who in the world thing is sort of my passion, my fun, like, you could even say legacy maybe. But the digital marketing, that has nothing to do with the podcast. That's sort of just my own jam that, I toil away all day.
But do you apply tactics from one in the other? Like how do you get the word out there about the podcast?
Yeah, good point. So far, basically just real basic social media, email, checking all the boxes where when you're starting a project like this, you sort of have your checklist of things you don't want to miss. And then each week, each month, you're going back and saying, well, let me make this little micro improvement. Let me update this. Let me, change this graphic or invite this person. So there's no big, bold, I'm not trying to monetize it, yet, maybe one day. But that's the whole point, right? You got to make it cool first, and want to do it for free in order to actually your passion to transmit to people where they'll actually want to pay for it.
Well, Norm, I'm married to a marketing person as well, and we have a business together. And there's a lot of that stuff that obviously is like second nature to you and my wife. You say check a list. What I've noticed is podcasters don't even know a list of checkboxes exist. So can you just help our listeners and tell them what they should have set up? Because most people just get a microphone and start recording. They think, okay, my podcast is here. Come listen to it. So how would you?
Well, if I could tell you guys a secret, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but I'm like slowly and surely getting there.
First to make sure no one was listening.
Yeah, with the help of Molly, So basically, I share things on my own personal Facebook and Instagram right now. And I didn't create a designated, who in the world Facebook or Instagram, because I hate the look of those when they have 43 followers and one post every month. And, I'd rather just share it with my person. But I do actively share, of course, the link, a description, a cool graphic. Even though it's audio, I tried to really check the box on visual content that's really, a cool sort of cartoonized photo of the person. Cool. Usually just their first name, sometimes, but a very short description. So something that pops. And so Facebook, Instagram, what else? I email it out, just a MailChimp list. I have it as a blog page on my website that I've had forever. Cool. I put it on YouTube. There we go. And we know YouTube is pretty darn important for, SEO or being a great search engine.
Cool.
Write pretty decent detailed descriptions for all these places.
Killing it.
Yeah.
No, you're doing a great job, man. Your show notes are on point. Your descriptions are good. Your graphics are really good. Your guests are super interesting. You've definitely been following all the bits of advice I've given you, like, that one time. Don't give me too much credit. This is really all you, man.
Well, one thing too that I've learned from Molly and others, which is like the next level, is of course you could put out one graphic of, hey, here's the show, here's the guest. The last one I did was this guy Johan, who's a super interesting dude, and like his image and about him sells it. He's like a tea connoisseur and has his own brand. Interesting dude. But then I go next level, maybe a week or two later, and I want to repost, but I don't want to just keep posting the same damn thing and boring people. So I'll actually take that same graphic sort of as a template, and I'll put a really interesting quote or just a little bite from something he says. It could be a little controversial, interesting, whatever. And I'll put that on the graphic, those with the same logo and, with the links and everything like that. So that's another way to sort of repurpose content and, just get more eyeballs where people are interested.
Have you seen any parallels to your experience with how you approach marketing for your clients and your actual day job that you've been able to kind of either take from the podcasting experience and use towards your business, or vice versa, what you've learned in business to be able to connect with people? Because I know my wife has a very, specific approach to trying to get in their mind. Like when she's marketing to people, you want to know what they're looking for, what the problems. And I've heard Molly talk about this too. She got on my case about it a few episodes ago, like know who you're talking to and forget all the other people. So just building on that conversation, I guess, which I don't, you were obviously weren't a part of it, but I'd love, I always love hearing other marketing people's insight on how they get into their listeners' brains or into their clients' brains.
Yeah. Well, from the business side of it, for the marketing I do for clients, a lot of them are, like I said, real estate, mortgage, and it's basically solving problems, exploring their challenges, their questions, their needs, their success stories, and that's basically how you appeal to them. It's not about you; it's about them. Fundamental marketing. Yes. I always love the quote. Someone told me a long time ago, and it's more of a sales quote, but you're not selling drill bits; you're selling holes. Right. So you're not selling the tool, the function. You're actually selling the result, the benefit. Right. I like that one for some reason. I'm
literally going to write that down. I love that.
But it's a good way of thinking about it, right? Where it's actually the experience, the benefit, the information, the value. That's a word that gets thrown around a lot to the end user. So on the Who in the World podcast, then it's a little bit of a fun shift for me because, frankly, can I curse on this podcast?
Absolutely.
Are you kidding me?
Frankly, I don't give a shit if you like it or not. It's like, it's fun for me. I'm passionate about it. I'm interested. I'm super curious. I'm enthralled by these people. And that's why I search them out, seek them out, and, sit them down and try to interview them. And so when you're finding your audience, basically, the people are going to find it or they're not, but I'm not sort of chasing them. So the value is really in the other person and the conversation and sharing their life story. Has nothing to do with me. I just try to be a fly on the wall and ask, Barbara Walters questions as much as possible. So there's definitely two paradigms, but either way, you're still thinking about, the other person, the value you bring, or the perspective.
I love that.
Well, and one would hope, right? But that's not always the case. Like you do a really good job of asking questions and tying things in and talking, a lot of like purpose questions and deep questions. And so I appreciate that, it's hard to be a good interviewer. It really is. It requires listening. And I think most of us are, by default pretty bad at listening, sometimes it's a safety mechanism, you know what I mean? Especially when you live in Washington, D.C., you have to just like tune a lot of it out. But I think you're doing a great job with it. I mean, you have a ton of downloads. It's a really interesting podcast. I love that our interview was inside of a restaurant in Tamarindo, so I'm sure it's going to be a bit of a nightmare, but it'll also be great, right? Like it's part of the
nightmare for whoever's doing the audio, cleaning it up, right?
Pretty much, right? So, but I mean, not necessarily. Well, and that's why, I really wanted to kind of like workshop this thing with you, right? Because
great segue.
Yeah, there's ways to like, create templates so that you can just drop something in and you know what I mean? And so previously Norm was editing everything on iMovie, right? Which has become ridiculously hard to use. Yeah. So kudos to you, honestly. There's no shade there at all. I can't even figure out fucking iMovie. So good on you, dude.
Well, I mean, from an audio perspective, there's like, 5 choices, it's so caveman, but you walk before you run, and that's sort of what I was using. And now I'm enlightened with you guys,
Exactly. So I got Norm to download Audition because I feel like Audition is just a little easier, right? But this is really not my place. But well, Norm, tell the guys like what the problem is that you're having with the receivers, the mics.
Okay. First off, promise you guys don't laugh at me. I'll make you sign something. Okay, because I
absolutely will.
I went on
I'm just kidding.
Okay, that's fine too. Yeah.
Trial by fire. That's what we're here for.
I went on a road Facebook, like users or whatever community, and asked some
deep
questions.
Rabbit hole.
Big mistake. Big mistake.
Big mistake.
It got into like death threats. Basically,
we'll cut through the
escalated
shit here. Yeah.
So basically, I envisioned that you have a receiver to transmitter. You click on a transmitter for each person, right? So far, so good, so simple. And it automatically records. Super simple. And then basically after that, you just plug it into your computer and you download it and you have audio that's usable. Well, what I've found, which is the problem, is like if I'm sitting across from someone, my transmitter picks up me at good volume, great quality, but then it picks up the other person too, with that, the lower quality, quieter. And then if you have 2 tracks, then you end up with actual 4 voices. And because I'm not an audio engineer, I have no idea what to do with that. Where I thought at first there would be like, one, and some people's answers was like, oh, you just have to be, 200 meters away from the subject. I was like, yeah,
that's great for interviews.
Yeah, we could have a glass wall maybe if I'm in prison interviewing someone, or I have no idea. But so that's what I'm running into, basically, that the audio I'm getting is diluted with that other voice that it picks up. But the quality is fantastic for my own voice or their own voice.
Yeah, so I've actually been dealing with this with some editing that I was doing today, and on Friday I had 4 people in one room. So everybody, the technical term, the jargon term for that is bleed. You get bleed from the other person into that mic. And it's a challenge, like in the music industry and in everything. This is something that you deal with. So it's not uncommon. Obviously, you can separate by physical distance. You can get some kind of barrier. But if you're interviewing somebody, you want to be able to see them. You want them to be close to you so you can have a conversation. The challenge, so everything has trade-offs, especially when in the technical world. The portability and the ease of recording on those little devices is fantastic, and the price point is bonkers. Like for $200, what you get is ridiculous. It's just
and the amount of audio, the amount of hours it holds. It has
it's a
little
fantastic
wind,
device.
What is that thing? A dead cat?
Yeah, dead cat's the nickname for it.
See, I'm learning. I'm learning.
Series
right?
of dead felines that they put on these things,
which is the windscreen thing to keep the wind from blowing when you're outside. But with those super tiny microphones, including the one you're using on your headset, it's very similar technology, just not quite as high quality. They're what's called omnidirectional, so it picks up everything around it. It picks up not just your voice close to you, but everything, the person across the table, the bar noise, all that stuff. Whereas the microphone that I'm using, that Molly's using, and even Adam's headset, they're unidirectional.
And Norm,
yes,
Norm's
and you got the
MV7 too.
Yes, because Molly,
which is great for when I'm interviewing myself. Right?
And so the best scenario is, and this is even what I had with my scenario. I have 3 of these and 1 MV7, so that I had 4 of these microphones around a table. But there's still bleed, but there's less bleed than what you're getting with your omnidirectional mics, because these are just picking their cardioid pattern or unidirectional, so they're only picking up what's in front. But it's still going to get bleed, and you're still going to have phase issues. Phase is when you sum 2 audio channels together with the same source, and it, because it's one microphone's over there and the other one's over here, they're coming in your ears at different times, and it makes it sound like washy and kind of funky. So my solution is and I'll open up one of my sessions here.
I feel like we need a drum roll here now, the big reveal.
We'll add it in post-production.
Yeah, there you go. Matt added it. It unfortunately is very time consuming, but the solution is when one person is not talking, you have each person on a separate track in Audition, and when one person is talking, when they stop talking, you cut it, and when they start talking, you cut it, and then you delete when they're not talking, so that and it's very time consuming. But this is an empty session. Let me open.
There's no other way to do that?
There is not, unfortunately.
So all these dudes on the road community thing, they basically knew there was no clean answer other than like editing, right?
Right.
Like super rolling up your sleeves and just going for it.
Exactly.
And when they were talking about bleed, I thought I thought I was getting death threats, but I guess it was just a technical term.
It's a jargon. Yeah, technical jargon term.
Oh,
so,
Adam, come on.
if I may, different way of doing it, because that's the
That's the real way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do nothing in the editing world. I just deal with the physical product. So I'm always trying to guide someone to use the products in a way that might eliminate as much issues as possible before they get into the editing side of things. So there's a couple things that Rode makes that could make it easier, because the problem you're having is that you have the microphone, and it's not a light microphone. It's pretty heavy, and I'm guessing it's clipped to someone's shirt, and it could be pulled down a little bit further than maybe you'd like. The closer to the source is the best, because then you can turn the gain down so it's not picking up as much, because every single microphone that Rode makes I was just doing research, every single microphone that Rode makes that would work with this is omnidirectional.
Right.
So they're all
Right.
picking up equidistant. The reason they are, though, is because there's less variance. Like if someone happens to move around, or if it's closer or further or whatever, it's going to sound even the whole way through. So there's advantages to having it be omni versus one that is directional, where if you look to the right, you'd lose them. So like that's almost worse at sometimes, that like they would be off.
You can't fix
mic.
that and post it.
You can't edit that out, and you don't want to be riding the gain like that. So a couple of things. So Rode makes a lavalier Go, which is another microphone that you can plug into it. It's a much smaller microphone. You could get it much closer to the source, potentially turning the gain down on the transmitter so that it's, I imagine gain is like a cloud that exists on top of the microphone. It's not volume, it's how much is the microphone listening to. So low gain, it's like, the cloud is like here. If you crank the gain up, you're hearing this, but you're also hearing any sound that gets into this little cloud. So if you can turn the gain down on the transmitter and have the mic much closer, then you're in a much better situation to manage whatever's coming in from elsewhere. Will be significantly reduced versus what's closest to it. And then you can edit, that a little bit, maybe using like some compression or something else later on.
Can I ask sorry, Molly has a question too.
Real quick, Adam. We cranked the gain all the way down on those receivers. Like I looked online, I messed with them. They're all the way down.
How close are you holding it to?
But it wasn't the lavalier, right? It was
right. You're using and that's that microphone being on the receiver. And so the other thing I'm going to say is they make a product called the Interview Go, which is like a stick that you can put the transmitter on top of and make it like a handheld microphone.
I thought you were going to say the pad setting too.
That's just gain. That just reduces the volume, so it's kind of like pads the gain down if something's going to get very loud.
Okay.
That could potentially do that too, and then you could maybe jack the gain up. So I guess it kind of depends, and it's worth trying that out. But Interview Go is like basically like the butt of a handheld microphone that you can stick this thing on top of, and then hold it right where it belongs.
I've seen that
in a noisy situation. I would always want to use that's why I use this headset, because I have chitter chatter happening around me all day, every day. So I can get this microphone where I need it to be and not deal with the ambient sound around me as much. There's phones going off and there's people all around me at my desk. So if you could make it a headset, and Rode actually makes that would be a little goofier, but they make like headset adapters where you can put the lavalier microphone through just have like a wire frame that you can mount the mic onto.
I think we should just do old school ABA 1970s headbands and duct tape, right?
Norm is the man, Molly.
You're with me on that. You're with me on that.
Make the new that's a great idea.
John McEnroe.
Straight to your forehead.
So I got this.
Come in with a roll of duct tape and just start,
This is a
show up next week with a headband and a microphone tape.
This is a $10 Adorama special I got one day. It's just a lapel mic, and it sounds really good when you have it up here close to your mouth. As soon as I clip it on my shirt, you can now hear like room echo and all that stuff. Yep. So as a live demo, that's what Adam's talking about, getting it up. Now they also use this style of mic, these type of lapel mics for Broadway, and the trick they do is they will clip it into the wigs of it actually sounds better coming up here off your head.
Way better, yeah.
That's what I do.
Voice projects out. Voice projects out
exactly.
A little bit instead of down.
And it's actually way too loud now. I got to turn the gain down.
Your headband idea was
yes, exactly. So, like Molly's got enough hair. I don't have hair. I'm like you, or I don't have hair. So she could actually tuck it into her hair and have it hiding under her, that front hair coming down. So, but if you're not doing video or if you're not on stage, you can just hold it in front of your mouth, just like a regular microphone. You don't have to get a fancy stick. You can just be aware of the handling noise, because it obviously sounds best right in front of the source. So that alone, even though it's omnidirectional, just getting it close to the source with the gain all the way down, it's not just a gain issue. It's a proximity issue. So that'll help pick up more of each other's voice and less of, and even just holding a little box, because those mics built in actually sound really a lot better than this one actually. And this one doesn't sound that bad when I have it up here, but as soon as I put it down here, it starts to not sound as good. Even if you have it up close up here, now like your voice is going past it. If you try to clip it up closer, so having it right in front of your mouth or clipped on a hat or on a headband, like you said,
that's actually great on the hat.
Yeah.
So okay, so how much are these lavalier mics? Because Norm's already invested in these things. Right now, we're telling him we got to buy something else, or like, what are some things that So
the lavs that go with it are $79. Not breaking the bank.
That's not too bad.
But just holding it in front of your mouth. If you're not doing video, are you doing video with the? Yeah. So just have your guest hold it in front of their face, and even put the dead cat on it.
It could be like an hour and a half, 2-hour conversation.
Yeah.
And that also brings out some like
handling noise and stuff. Yeah.
Lazy.
And usually we're drinking heavily while we're.
That's part of the sound of the show. Then the ice clinking in the glass and stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was. Like I did the podcast with Molly inside the bar, and it's funny, in Tamarindo, there's probably only one bar or restaurant that's fully enclosed, windows, aircon, no mosquitoes, no car horns,
nobody's
monkeys,
selling
and
you
I'm not even joking.
bird whistles.
Yeah, no one selling you Coke or something. So I was hoping for like the NPR-ish vibe where you hear the tinkling of a glass and a pour here, and I realized that they just add those sound effects in afterwards. Because we got like aircon and like a flushing toilet and like breaking dishes, right? We got all the wrong non-NPR-ish, audio.
It's all part of the show, though. It's all part of the experience that you're providing.
It's the ambiance. Huh?
It's real.
So let me ask you guys this. Like super triage combat, you're in the middle of the jungle, you need to record someone, you don't have a... What about taking one of the transmitters, put it right in between you guys, turn it up a little bit, and is it decent enough to pick up both voices?
It will.
If you guys are sitting close?
Yeah, it doesn't.
Right, but it's going to pick up even more. You're going to be battling that air conditioner and the monkeys and all that stuff even more. Yes. So, you want to get it.
But there's always got to be a but. If that saves Norm hours of like this post-production cut and paste jammy jam, then maybe it's worth it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
As long as the audio's audible, like as long as the voices are audible and it's not the noise isn't so overwhelming. But I'm afraid it would be way too much noise.
You may also want to get. Yep. You may also just want to get clever because it has those clips on the end rather than clipping it to your shirt. Like, think of it just like a microphone, like the microphone you have on your stand.
Yeah.
It has a little clip on it, so if you can give it some kind of,
a table stand
thing to clip onto and just put it right in front of you so it can be hands off, but you can put it closer to where it belongs, have the mic facing the subject, then you might be better off. It's mic placement can... Just like we heard with Marcus's on this hat, like game changer from down here to where it should have been.
Yeah.
Now I've got it on my glasses.
If you can get that where it belongs without doing something,
little stand, right?
A beer bottle.
Yes.
I was thinking about this before you said this a few minutes ago. Wow. Like, what's something practical?
Put it on the tab of a beer, like the tab of or whatever, or like a can.
Yeah. Sorry.
Right.
So then you'd still have a little editing, but it wouldn't be quite as bad, or it might even be usable.
But I'm sitting here with my elbow on the table, and these things aren't heavy. It's not like holding an SM7B. I mean, I could sit here for an hour and a half and with this in front of my face.
Yeah.
But I do like the idea of facing the microphone directly at your face. Yeah. So it's not like here picking up all kinds. It's like at least aimed this way, right? So it'll help with some of that bleed. You could just like set it on top of a beer bottle as long as it's not vibrating or picking up any bass from the beer bottle. But you could have it super close on the table.
That is something to be aware of too. Is these are, just like Adam's headset, really susceptible to handling noise and stuff. So anytime you, like a lot of people talk, like I talk with my hands, and if you bang the table and it's sitting on a beer bottle, you're going to hear boom, thump, thump.
It's going to fall.
Yeah.
Or even if it's rustling against your shirt sometimes or something, you'll hear that, right?
And I have a plug-in
that,
in RX that I can do a de-rustle, but you know, you don't want to have to mess with that in post. You know, you want to do as little work as possible.
Yeah.
You could totally buy like 2 little like selfie stick, like mini tripod kind of sticks, and with the little grippies on them, and just put them right in front of people, right in front of their face, you know. And then I think the other thing that's worth trying, Norm, is just like, you know, backing up a little bit more. Like if you know, like when we were sitting there the other day, maybe if I had backed up 2 feet further, you wouldn't have picked up as much of mine.
It might make a big difference, huh?
Yeah, just a couple feet
so
could make
maybe
a
just
huge difference.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm if you want to link up, we can go back to that spot and do a test run. And
Yeah,
try
we
these
might
things.
as well. We should test and actually record it and send it to Road or put it online or you know, stick it in the face of all these D-bags on the Road Facebook group or something, you know.
Send them a link to this
I'm
episode.
all about revenge. That's basically why I'm here, yeah.
You're doing
That's
it
right.
wrong. You're doing it wrong.
Here's what an audio engineer with 30-plus years of experience says about what you told me on the Road group. Yeah, because I have that's me. But yeah, here's a tripod, you know, little camera table tripod thing. It's $18. And does the Rode have a little tripod mount on it, like a 1/4 thread?
I haven't seen one yet.
I don't think so.
The two things that Adam talked about, I've seen.
Like I
online,
just got
but
it
not
clipped on the little thing here, and you know, it's still going to be a
they
little
got those
further
little, like-
away. Like you want to have it up even closer, but I don't know, like finding something to set it on. But
Well, they sell those because that's what I have my camera is being held up by right now.
okay, like the
And
gooseneck
I'm probably
thing,
gonna buy
right?
another one. Yeah, it just has like a little grippy, you know,
Cool.
just a little.
Yeah,
grippy
that'd be
thing on it.
perfect.
It's not like a real tripod. It's like a phone tripod. And I use it a lot when I get on like WhatsApp video calls with friends and stuff back home. I want to put it in the holder and put it in front of me so I can like talk to them without like leaning it against the fucking
perfect.
wall or whatever.
That'd be
You know?
perfect.
And so, and you know, girls got to check her angles, make sure you can't see all my chins. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, but I know they sell them at that electronics store in the Auto Mercado
Sorry.
Is this like a commercial
No,
break or
I
something?
accidentally
What are we
hit the
doing here?
space bar. That's the my DAW.
That's good too.
Yeah,
I was
that's-
was that Enya? What are you rocking these days?
I was feeling it.
Very churchy.
Yeah, it is a parenting podcast. So, but I mean, while I've interrupted the conversation, this where is it? That's not it. That is you all. Here we go. This is how I have the editing. So all these people were in the same room, and so when that person stops talking, I cut it, and then
Whoa.
yeah. So it's a lot of work.
That must
You
have
got
taken
to
you a
cut
long
it.
time.
Cut it.
Yeah.
Cut
And
it.
it does. Like this is a 50. Well, the audio we recorded was 45 minutes. We ended up with 46 minutes of usable. So I edited out almost 10 minutes worth of audio.
Wait.
And it took me a day and a half to do this with this many. There's 4 people there or 5 people in the room. And with 2 people,
That's
it's a lot
much
less.
harder.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. But
But
still,
I know on that one, every time someone said
yes,
or
I did edit the
you're
ums
like,
and stuff
God
out
damn,
too.
another cut.
Yeah. I do edit the ums
Yeah.
and the snorts and the throat clearings and all that
well,
stuff. out.
I think finding a way to use these in a more practical way seems to be the right solution in my mind. Like, how do we get this to work? So I think we do a test run, Norm.
Yeah, I like that idea.
I can bring like my selfie stick and we can just try with that, and you can just hold.
I think that's
going
gonna be the deal.
You can make sure it works.
Yeah.
Because the selfie stick is adjustable, so you can just put it on the table in
Yeah.
front of them.
Yeah.
Just adjust it to whatever.
That's
height.
awesome.
We could try different distances, different gains, and sort of do a little
then-
science experiment.
The closer,
Right, and then try just one in the middle and see what happens there.
That's
You know,
not.
we could do
I
a
can tell
couple
you right now,
different
the one in the
test
middle
runs.
is not going to be what you want to do.
right? Not gonna work. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I'd like to wager a friendly little bet on that just to spice this shit up. You know what I'm saying?
Or you could do the super creepy like the mini hallway interviewer thing where you throw like a blanket over just you two and you're facing each other in there. Like
If you're
no
getting
outside
people ignoring
sound.
your request right now, we can show them a picture of that when you send them in. But hey, we're going to do
Right.
something like this.
Yeah.
like
I'll
a
bring
fire
a blanket
over
and-
you or something.
Yeah.
We'll both just hang out underneath.
Do you have
it.
a flashlight you could bring? Oh, that is super creepy.
Be like, don't worry, it won't be hot under there. It's only Costa Rica.
That's right.
First of all, you're gonna have to find a blanket, which might be a
Yeah, good point. Good point. So with the editing though, do you suggest the Adobe Audition like Molly
Absolutely.
recommended for super newbies like me? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, Adobe Audition, like all the DAWs, like I'm using Logic. They all pretty much work the same. It's about cost and reliability. Pro Tools is actually very unreliable, so I don't recommend it. It's also one of the more expensive ones, but it is the industry standard. But I don't use it because it's a pain in the ass and it's expensive. Adobe Audition is what I used to use until I had to do music. I've got like a keyboard down here, so I have to add music sometimes to some of the shows I do. So I couldn't do that in Audition, but you're not going to be doing that. But yeah, and Audition comes with noise removal tools. It comes with a lot of great stuff that Logic doesn't. And there's all kinds of tutorials on YouTube and stuff you could get better at as you go.
Yeah. I already started like just jamming. Once I downloaded it, I was like, all right, what's the super startup, from 0 to 1? And I just looked at a few. So the first, it wasn't yours, Molly. It was a podcast before yours. I actually put it in Audition, and there was like, all right, these are the 3 basic things that you could do just to, improve your audio by 80%. And
Nice.
it did it, and I think it worked.
Cool.
And yeah. So getting started, but like anything, I just have to jump in and learn more and keep using it and practicing.
Yeah, and then the other thing is you can make a template with the music and like your effects and stuff, so that you just drop in your audio. Your voice is ready to go because your voice doesn't change, and then you just have to tweak the guest EQ and compression a little bit maybe. But a lot of times I don't even have to tweak it that much, and so then it's just a matter of chopping it up how you need it and making sure everything lines up right, and it saves you a ton of time having that template.
Or I could hire someone like yourself
or Molly's team,
for $1 million an hour to do it for me, right? Molly's team, yeah.
Well, I'm always happy to help in any way if it's like setting up a template for you, or you know what I mean, like because I think it's a really cool podcast, man. And you know so many. I mean, you guys got to check his podcast out. He knows some really like not just interesting, but like people who have made a huge difference. A guy who like runs an orphanage. I mean, like some really just outstanding
Cambodian,
human beings.
he's a Cambodian genocide
Whoa.
survivor.
Yeah.
Yeah, good friend of mine actually. I lived in Cambodia a couple of years, and
Man.
he's he when he was a boy, he survived the Khmer Rouge genocide, and now him and his wife like started an orphanage to sort of, I mean, talk about next level, right? And then there's a bunch of goofy fuckers on there too, and like
I'll be here.
but
all
yeah,
week.
it's just people are goddamn interesting, right? And the people you meet when you're traveling are crazy and interesting, so it's a pretty fun forum.
That's awesome. I'll definitely check it out.
For sure. And then, we might be losing Norm. Might be going back to Asia in the, winter. So, we got to make sure, because, I think it's really important. It's like you said, Adam, we want to make sure the equipment is working for him in a way that it's like he's not dreading doing another podcast because it means he's going to have to do 3 hours of editing, right? So and this is a great piece of equipment, right? So if we could find ways to make it work practically, in the scenario that he exists in, right? Then that's a real win, because he's got the Shure MV7 for stuff like this. He's got this in the field. And if there's nothing, for sure, Norm is going to be in the field, right? Like this is a perfect piece of equipment for someone like Norm.
Yeah.
So,
well, I see a lot of people use it actually instead of like I'm planning to with the one-on-one podcast. People use it where they're clipping into a camera, or so they are at a distance, or some other, and clipping it into or plug it into their phone and recording. There's a bunch of other
right.
A lot of ways to use it. I love also that they made each one of those things is its own recorder.
Yeah.
So like if you're out and you can't charge up or whatever, like that's where I think also that the stick, or even just you can jerry rig and make a stick to hold it, but like if you can use the one as its own recorder and microphone, then you got 2 that you can do that with to survive through, if you're
a lot of battery
on the road for a while and you can't charge it, or but you come across someone and you just got to get something done, like talk about mission critical kind of stuff. Like I think it's a very sharp system if you just think about all these different ways that you can use it, and that each one you can record into the one device if you didn't get a chance to dump it onto a computer because you're not near one, then you can load up the next one and just use the mic as one recorder and the next one and the next one. So like that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Interesting.
Smart system.
Let me ask this too. From we talked about reducing the bleed. Like there'll still be some bleed, but the direction of the mic or the placement of the mic and stuff like that as I hit the mic. But from an editing standpoint, if there's less bleed, is it basically still the same process?
Yes.
I mean, it doesn't save you time, does it? It's just you're still
and
cutting.
That's the thing. Like I'm super perfectionist, and I'm getting paid, quite a bit of money to make it sound as good as possible. So there are most podcasts don't go to that extent of what I showed you on screen of chopping.
No. He's not normal.
Yeah, and especially in this situation where we're not in the
advanced.
same room. But see, even with my Riverside recordings, I still chop it because of the way I edit and because of my flow and my progress. But there's a shortcut in Logic that lets me do it automatically. But when there's bleed on the mic, it doesn't get all of it because it is when you're in the same room, it is picking up that other person's voice.
Yeah.
So I do still do it. Most people don't, but it actually makes a difference. It does. And if you want to take it to that next level, in my opinion, it's worth it even when you have a super, like your MV7, if you had two of those as opposed to the lavalier mics, it's not going to pick up as much, but it still will pick up some. And, and with these, when they're unidirectional, you just want to make sure that the microphone, the other person is sitting directly in front of you. So the back of the microphone that doesn't pick up anything isn't picking up that other person's voice at all.
That'll be the least bleed, right? If the back is,
So it's just picking up like reflections off the window or the wall behind you or whatever, which it's still going to pick up.
Because that's another. Yeah,
It still will.
It's inevitable. But that's another. I mean, there's two types, right? There's of maybe podcast interview. There's like in the field where I'm, in a crowded bar, if I'm like catching up with someone in a field, whatever. And then there's a controlled environment where I could actually say, come in, sit down, and maybe I could get a second one of these and do exactly what you're saying for cleaner. And
even like
what was the word?
Cardioid, yeah.
Cardioid.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The Cardi B mic.
The Cardi B.
That's what I call
Girl.
it.
Those, if you think about like the old TV interviews, and they still use them today, but anytime you see a TV interview with the microphone with the little box on the end of it, that's actually omnidirectional microphone. And which was when I learned that, I was like, wow, that's surprising they don't use a cardioid microphone for that because they're going back and forth. But they use an omnidirectional microphone for that, and it's a dynamic microphone. It's not a condenser. And they are sticking it right in the person's face. They're not a mile away, or they're not holding it. I mean, some of them, I guess, do hold it down here, but
That's so because if they're off,
it doesn't affect sound.
They don't
right.
lose a signal. It
'Cause
sounds the same if it's here or it's here. It's here. So that's why if you're a bunch of reporters trying to jam something in someone's face,
it's more forgiving.
It all sounds forgiving, right?
So,
but I'm all for the whole dynamic mic, dynamic cardioid deal. Like that's. If someone wants a condenser, I'll sell it to them. But like that ain't the way to make this easy on anyone. So I mean, going with either a set of those, you can plug those into a phone to record.
That's right.
MP7s. If you're going to use that and you wanted to record each track and then have them send it off and do that, you'd have both. A little bit of editing there too to match it all up.
This into
one phone.
This into
you can do that into a phone.
Really?
Well, I don't
You
think you
can't
could
do
do
two.
both into one phone, but if you each had a phone and you each had an MV7, you could have a really high level. And the thing about those mics is it remembers the settings. So like if you keep it on far mode and you keep it on dark or whatever the preset you had, the mic remembers as long as you have it plugged in USB.
Yep.
It won't work with some iOS devices. Like it won't work with USB-C iPad Pros, but it will work with
you just have to have the right cable.
You just got to get the camera adapter kit.
Or they have
the
a
right kit,
Shure
the right
sells a
adapter.
cable as well that's the mini USB to Lightning. But the camera adapter kit has
that would
power,
work.
so you don't drain the battery.
And then you're killing it.
Yeah.
Then you're doing it the real way, like the most rightest way.
The most.
And I think that's a pretty clever thing too, just to record it on your phone and have the person just send you the file also.
Yeah, and any place that you're going to plop down your phone but set up this mic, you could probably plop down your laptop and set up
That's
this mic
true.
too. So I mean,
That's true.
it's not a
For
not like
sure.
I'm jumping out of an airplane with these, but not the laptop, or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and
it's all helpful.
Do you use an iPhone for your phone?
Yes, I do.
So, like, yeah, if you went to an interview, you could bring, your iPhone and your laptop and another MV7, and you could just, run both sessions. You wouldn't have to ask them to send you anything. You'd be one into the laptop. I wonder if there's a way to.
I mean, there must be a way to run two of these into one laptop or something.
There is. You have to jump through some hoops. Do you have a Mac or a PC?
I have a Mac.
Yeah, so if you're a Mac, and I need to do a blog post on this because I tell people about this all the time. You have to create. There's an app in the utilities folder. There's an app called Audio MIDI Setup, and in that you create an aggregate device. So it sees any audio device that's plugged into it, and then you create one that is basically a sum of those two USB mics together, and then you can choose it in the software. So it's pretty tricky, but once it's set up, like you don't have to mess with it again.
If you do a blog post on that, I'll love you forever. I love you forever anyways, but that I would definitely pay attention to.
Because a lot of people ask me about that all the time. So,
Adam's coming in hot, though.
That said, though, not that you can't do that, right? But don't you sacrifice some like functionality? Like the app can only run one mic.
Oh yeah, but that's like the thing.
So you lose the multitrack capability of it, right?
No.
You're still going to see it as one USB.
You
get both.
You can do distinct input 1 and 2. I'm pretty sure. I'll have to double check. But you might be right. But the like as far as the app, the software control app, it can't see two of them. So you'll have to. You're basically foregoing any kind of digital.
I wonder how it would like that.
So what would be
what I was going to say
option?
is this is Rode. You're killing it right now. They made if you're going to shell out and buy another $200 worth of equipment to have a second one, Rode made the NT
but it's a condenser,
Mini, which is their little. But it's a little cutesy. It's not a really hot condenser. It's a pretty cutesy.
Norm deserves a hot condenser.
Is that the bad word? Condenser?
Well, it just picks up more stuff.
I mean, it's a bit more sensitive.
A bit.
Like me.
But the big butt.
Like me.
They came out with software called Rode Connect that will allow you to plug in two USB microphones to a computer, and it basically gives you like a virtual Rodecaster. So it basically gives you a fully functioning multi-channel mixer, and each one has all these settings. You get all the cool functions that app does for the MV7 on each microphone, and these mics are $99. Small little things, really well built, come on a little stand, super portable. It's on a stand, like it comes with a rubberized, like cool, badass stand that you could just plop down in front of two people, plug it into a computer, game on. And what's on the computer screen is a fully functioning mixer, virtual mixer. You control microphone A and B differently. They can have different gain settings. They can have compression and EQ and all these different things to make that sound as good as it possibly can. So if you're going to spend $200 and you want to have two USB microphones without buying a recorder or an interface or some other device, these two microphones out the box, plug it into your computer, have that app running, game over.
Yeah, they're $100 each.
Clean.
And they're solid microphones. I have one.
They just released this as like an update. The mic's been out for a year, and it was just a normal USB microphone. If you wanted to use two, you'd have to do what Marcus just said and do this aggregate thing or come up with some clever way to get two into one. They very super awesome after the fact update, which is my favorite kind of thing, kind of like your cars drive themselves now, have a good day. Like now your microphones can do multi-track without needing anything else. You just plug them in and you can go up to 4. So you can kind of scale your way into having a much larger, the Rodecaster by itself is $599. And then you got to buy the microphones.
Right.
So it's a great, I mean, I have one under my desk, which I keep pointing down here like you knew that. But
what brand is this called? It's called Rodecaster?
All this is Rode.
Oh, okay.
So
it's Rode, yeah.
The Rode NT USB Mini.
Okay, but
the little guy.
These Rode lapels they don't interface with that program? Because that would be money.
Only the Mini right now. Okay. It's the only thing that does it right now.
Rode.
But they did a very good job with
the all the editing, or would it still be the same?
It's all my whole thing is all about reducing the amount of editing that you might need to do. You probably will still want to edit. You probably will still need to edit. Someone will. So to make it sound as best as it can. But that said, with the idea with the Rodecaster also is like, how can you make it sound as good as possible on the front end so that you can reduce the amount of editing you have to do on the back end?
Well,
That's mindset I got from Molly in the beginning of this whole thing.
For
It's like, how can
sure.
you get someone like as easy as possible to get as good as audio as possible, so that come time of editing, there's less to do.
You're working with the best lump of clay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the other thing, about the app, right? Because it's much more of a control panel, and like with the Rode wireless jams, it's like low or high with gain. There's no knob. It's like one A or B, and so I feel like with a control panel like this, you could dial those gains down, and then you wouldn't have so much bleed.
Let me rephrase my previous comment. I think the Rode Wireless Go also works with the Rode Connect app, and I think that you can plug it in and update the transmitters. I was just reading about it that you can do like I think it's called fine gain mode, as opposed to just the like low and high. It'll give you a stepped
there are two settings. I did read that where you can
like
basically
super
do macro
granular
or micro
levels
where
of
Yeah.
which may give you a little bit more control as well instead of low and high, because that doesn't really help anyone.
It really doesn't.
So
that
Rode's on it, and the cool thing about that is that they can always push updates out to the app,
Right.
and thus update these other products. So it's like having a super cool digital mixer or something that like a computer that can always get better with software or whatever. Most hardware is what it is until you buy the next thing. And Rode's come up with a pretty clever way to kind of like backwards update these products so that you benefit from anything that they learn from users having these kinds of experiences. Rode user groups be damned. Rode actually listens and is a pretty cool company. Obviously, they've made a whole slew of products that
we love
has ended up being really sharp.
Yeah.
So you are saying that this Rodecaster digital platform software shit will work with the Rode Goes, or no?
I do believe that it will. Maybe not in the same capacity as the NT-USB minis, not like the same way, but I think it's like an inroad to being able to update and manage the devices in a different way.
Because that would be money. Because there is an app. It's like Rode Global or something like that, something, whatever. And so there is a little bit of control, but just not enough. It's like high, low, fine, granular. It's like, it's really minimal. Like there's no dials.
All right, real-time update here. So I just set up the aggregate device with the Audio MIDI app. You can see here I added a Samson Q2U USB, and together with my Apollo X4, which has a bunch of inputs here, which is all this stuff, which we only really need one. And this is my Apollo console app thing that I'm talking on now. But in Audition here, I created a session, and I went in here to the preferences, audio hardware, and then I chose the aggregate device as the default input. So now when I go to this track here, I can choose mono, and look, it's got Samson. This apparently is seeing it as a stereo input left and right, even though it's just one microphone. So I pick that for channel 1, and then for channel 2, I can pick the microphone that I'm talking on now, which is this SM7B. So now both the Samsons. So Adam, what you were saying is false. You can, with an aggregate device, have multi-track.
Damn, he said that with a little stank on it.
I know.
That was, yeah.
A little
in the throat.
stank on it. Oh yeah, things get spicy around here. They might seem like very nice people.
So I'll turn that into a blog post or something.
I still think that you should do a blog post because it's brilliant, and we'll link back to it. But I still think that adjusting the recording methods and trying to get this, because it turns it into a it turns your computer into a Rodecaster Pro, and that's like a game changer.
Yep.
So like if we could get that,
it's
to
definitely
work.
much easier than what I just showed you. if it does work with your devices,
Okay.
But it works.
Yeah, Adam, if you could send links or descriptions or where we could get that or look at it, that'd be awesome.
And we'll make sure
no
to
problem.
put it all in the show notes too, so when it comes out, people have it. For people who are, experiencing the same thing, because, I want to make sure that this really works. You know what I mean? So, and I think that the Rode, little USB, NTB, 2B9, whatever, jammies, I think those are cool. The R2D2, but they're bigger, right? And the great thing about these Rode is they're so light. Like Norm's a world traveler, man. He's traveling light.
You don't want to have to pull the laptop out if you don't have to.
Yeah.
Although exactly,
Norm is interested in a silver briefcase that we can handcuff to his arm to carry his podcast equipment, but I'm not sure how practical that really is. So, but like,
not about practicality.
Right.
Do you think I'm about practicality here?
Mark
You're
is
about
like,
results over there.
6 new microphones this week. My wife isn't speaking to me anymore. But I sound
Now I'm
great.
gonna have to buy all these Rode mics we're talking about, so I can test them and make sure all the stuff works.
Do a blog post.
Well, Molly and I will do a basic test. We'll get together and do that, Molly, huh?
Yeah, man, I'm totally down. I'll come into Tamarindo,
Jameson's and Bailey's, please. We'll get crazy.
Done and done, just like the last time. Exactly.
Just don't spill them on the mics,
man. But this is
good point. Good point.
This is great. I feel like we made some progress, right? Like, and we'll do some tests and we'll circle back. But I think this is good. This is a real practical, way to kind of talk through these things, right? And sometimes, one of my favorite quotes is "Don't let perfect be the enemy of good," right? And use what you have. And so sometimes we feel like we need something different or a different piece of equipment or a different thing in order to get to where we want to be. But I do think it's just a matter of using what you have fully, right?
Yeah, and correctly, right? And to optimize it with, correct techniques or extra equipment or apps or, all of the above, right? Which I'm learning from you guys. So yeah, thank you guys.
You can do a lot when you understand with no matter what gear you have. It's all about the techniques for sure. That's the most important thing. It
really is. And then, once you have like a, maybe the move is not doing it in the bar when it's open. Maybe it's doing it, when they're closed, or doing it in a different location and then taking all the background noise from like our interview and putting that in there at like 10% volume, right? If you're going right, like there's ways.
Yeah, you could add the tinkling glass effect and the all
but
that
that's
stuff.
More work too.
But yeah, fun.
It is, but even if you just wanted to like not be a perfectionist, like Marcus the Paulo over here, right? You could just throw that in as like 10% volume, like very ethereal. You ain't gonna win no NPR awards, right? But like. You're not, that's not what you're going for, right? So even if it's
and a lot of this times it's, outdoors, indoors, outdoors, you get car horns and, gunshots and barking dogs and chickens. I've been on, it's not the podcast, but calls with clients, and I'm like in the jungle in the Philippines at 2 a.m. because it's 2 p.m. California time, and they're like, what the hell was that? I was like, that was a rooster going off, like just ignore that and please hire me. And, so I think there's, to what you guys are saying, there's a, maybe one set of equipment for certain conditions and another set or another use of that equipment for in the field. Yeah.
Yeah, like your Shure MV7 is a great mic. You should just use it all the time. Like all of your sales call,
I love it.
All of your meetings, because it'll also eliminate. It's not going to pick up all the monkeys and all the other stuff.
Right.
Like it because you really have to talk into, as Marcus, you have to really talk really into this. And it's not going to pick up nearly as much even over here and over here, right? So that also means that it's deading out a lot of that other noise. It's because it's not a condenser microphone that's just picking up everything. It's a directional mic. It's coming right here. So, it actually will help eliminate all those sounds and then just keep the focus on you. And I really do think there's something to be said for showing up with a microphone on sales calls because like your voice sounds better, and it's like psychological warfare. You're like, hey, what's up? Buy from me. All right. Like it's very buttery smooth, and that's just easier to listen to. You have more confidence in their voice and what they're saying, even though it's super like subliminal. But like, I don't want to, if you sound like you're coming through a tuna can, I just can't wait to get off the call and I'm super distracted by it. But if you sound good, I'm more interested in what you have to say. And I think even though people might not be fully aware of that, like that stuff, sales is psychology, right? So it's all happening in the background.
Well, it's credibility too. It's
Exactly.
just it's professional.
Professionalism.
Yeah.
I'm actually working
so
on.
you can be half drunk, but as long as you got a
as long as
microphone,
you
you're
sound
in
good.
there.
Yes, slurring your words.
Yeah.
Well, Barry White was half drunk and then some, right? And he sounded damn good. So
He killed it.
I'm actually working on a video right now that I need to get done next week. I'm spending way too much time on it, but it's to accompany a piece that I'm writing for Sounds Profitable. Brian Barletta is getting ready to go on paternity leave. He has a newsletter about ad tech, and so he's having me as a guest writer on one of it. And in this video, I take a set of AirPods, a set of earpods like you have, the wired ones, the laptop microphone, my SM7B, this condenser, Samson Q2U, and a Yeti. And I compare them all back to back to back to back, and you hear in real time the difference. And the AirPods compared to this $60 mic,
A tuna can.
yeah, it's ridiculous. And it's like my goal with that is to help people never use AirPods again for even just Zoom calls or anything, because they suck.
Yeah.
Like they completely make it hard to even just communicate and say anything clearly to somebody.
I hate
It's awful.
AirPods.
And it's a lot of times you don't in daily life, not professional radio and podcasters, but just sales calls and stuff. You don't realize it's bad
Right.
audio until you hear good
Right.
audio. Then you're like, holy shit, this is what it should sound like, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
similarly,
like my friend Katie Nelson, I got her set up with a microphone. She's like, I just want your setup, just whatever it is, And I got her a better microphone first, and then she was like, oh my God, I get it. She's like, I hate Zoom calls now. You ruined me, Like I didn't even know about bad audio until you pointed out. And now she's like, I can't do it. I can't stay on these calls anymore. And then she upgraded again and got like the same camera and the exact same mic, because she was just like, and she's killing it. She's getting more speaking engagements, and her sales numbers went up. And I'm not going to say it's directly because of that, but like, man, when you show up and somebody's on a DSLR, and she's, I got her lighting set up. I brought some of the stuff from the studio. Like she's got my old backdrops and stuff. And like, it makes a big difference, man, for sure.
yeah,
Makes a huge difference. And I think audio probably even more than video, huh? I mean, if
100%.
Definitely.
if something's in shadows, or if it just sort of looks like they're trying to do the organic video
Right.
thing, right?
Right.
But with bad audio, it's inexcusable,
Exactly.
basically, in a professional setting.
if they
right?
can't hear you,
I
what
agree.
you're saying, but they can still see you, what's the point? Unless you're doing
Yeah.
sign language.
Well, and the reality is most of the time when people are on video calls, they're just looking at themselves.
That's true. That's true.
Nobody's really looking at you, but they're listening.
So maybe that's the next app, huh? Where or setting where like you could see everyone except yourself, or you're like in
I
a
wish.
weird funhouse mirror setting or something like that.
That's what Marcus has. Yeah, I wish I didn't have to look at
That's
myself.
scary.
I think that was the hardest part of the pandemic, is having to look at my ugly mug so much. Man, I've never spent this much
stop
time in
it.
front of a fucking mirror in my whole life.
Stop it with all that.
No, I'm serious. It's not comfortable. My sister can't pass a mirror without being like, "Ew," and I'm like, ooh. Like one time I went on a fucking cruise ship, and there's mirrors everywhere. Like I almost lost my shit. Like everywhere.
Even on
You're
the
sitting
ceiling
on the
and
bed,
the kind
you
of
look
cruises
over.
you go on, huh?
Yeah, well, no, every shitty cruise ship in the world is covered with mirrors. I don't know what it is. Like you're sitting on the bed all fat and disgusting from eating like 17 different nationality foods at the buffet, and you look over and there's a floor-length mirror, and you're just like, oh, I fucking hate
You're
you.
like,
You
nope.
know?
It makes
Like,
those closet-sized compartments feel bigger when you have a mirror, because you're sleeping in a closet basically on those
Seriously.
cruise ships.
you're like
Yeah,
running down
right.
the stairs. There's like a giant mirror in front of you. You're like, I fucking hate this, man. Like,
How about
seriously.
I know this is a little like off topic, but since where are your stance on gym mirrors? Because there's like some people literally cannot work out unless they're staring at themselves, which we're all vain or self-conscious. But now the younger people, they need to get right up in that, man. They're like right up in that, and I'm like, you could step a foot back and still do your little curls there, boo boo.
I think it's because they're used to
That's
doing this
right.
all
It's
day.
the
think so.
selfie perspective.
Yeah. But have
Yeah.
you guys noticed that, or is it just me, or is it just
What's
like
a
a foreign
gym?
thing?
Yeah, what's this gym thing you speak of? What is this foreign place?
Touche, huh?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
That's hilarious, but accurate. Yeah, no, I'm on the treadmill, and I try not to look at myself, but there is a mirror like across the room, but it just makes me run harder when I look at it.
You have your set up like with the nice windows out with the view and everything, right? Looking at jungle and yeah,
it's pretty rad for sure. It's super rad, actually. Very grateful for that. Ran today, got back on. I was super sick while you were gone, Adam. I almost died.
I'm glad to see you. I saw those post after the fact, and you weren't going to go anywhere.
Dude, that shit was riggedy rough.
Unsinkable mountain.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I almost got sunk, dude. It was gnarly. And you know,
there's no worse feeling on earth, right, than being
seriously.
like, yeah.
I was so weak. I couldn't even like take the dog out. Like I couldn't do it. It was just so bad, man. It was so bad. And then, you know, you just go to the doctor and you just trust that everything's okay. And I'm like, so, you know, what are you, like 21, 22? What's up, doc? Like, you know, it's just different. You know, it's a different place. It's not the United
How much
States.
can you learn by the time you're 21? That's scary, right?
Maybe it's like Doogie Howser type situation.
Yeah, I don't think he was quite
the Costa
that young,
Rican Doogie Howser, huh?
Yeah, but you know, it is what it is, right? Like you're in a third world country. They don't make people go to school for 17 years to be a doctor because they actually want people not to be sick in this country. So it's a little different, you know, the finances aren't the same. But yeah, and he sent me home with these like, I was like, hey, I'm not feeling too good. And he had me come back in, check my blood pressure. He's like a little low. He's like, I'm going to prescribe you these things. Like, just drink them every morning for 10 days. And I get them home. And it's like, it looks like something out of like Call the Midwife. They're like these glass vials that I have to break with like brown liquid. And the box looks like it came from like a fucking bomb shelter from 1945. And I'm like, I don't know, man. This feels, I don't know. But
did it work?
After all the acid,
here you are.
Yeah, after all the acid I ate in the 90s, I feel like I shouldn't be afraid. But like, I don't know, man. These vials look a little gnarly. I can't bring myself to drink them just yet. I'm like, so I break the glass and then I drink from the broken glass. He's like,
there's like Russian writing and a Soviet flag on the side of them. You're like, where did these come from? Right?
Yeah. And it looks like you could break one end and drink it and then stab yourself with the other end. Like it does not feel safe at all. And so, yeah, if I don't show up next week, check my apartment because.
Well, glad you're feeling better.
Yeah.
You know, thanks. It feels good to feel better, man. It makes you appreciate things like not sipping chicken broth for 5 days. You know what I mean? You're like, whole food.
Hell
Crazy. Yeah. So, Costa Rican weight loss plan in full effect. Let me tell you what, guys. Get you a parasite. You know what I'm saying?
Just get off the plane and just start drinking out of a puddle, and you know you could eat all you want for 2 weeks, and you'll go home 20 pounds lighter. That's the formula, right?
Pura vida.
Yeah. Get those marketing juices flowing. You got something on your hands right there.
Oh, I've thought about that for years.
Juices
I've
flowing.
thought about that for years. Yeah. Oh boy.
It's like the Hollywood diet. Yeah, the Guanacaste.
And on that note,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
thanks for joining the podcast club where we talk about all things podcasting. Thanks so much.
Drink this estuary water.
Though I will say, like in Costa Rica, I drink the tap water.
Really?
And
You've
yeah.
also gotten deathly sick like a couple times, Norm. So
Why you gotta bring that up? Huh? Why you gotta talk
this...
about old times? That was like a week ago.
Now he's Man of Steel. Now he's
It wasn't.
anything.
The water is actually decent in most parts. Like I don't know in the main city if it's better or worse, but it's actually decent.
Cool.
Compared to like tomorrow I go to Nicaragua and I would not drink. I'm like, don't even touch the ice. It's sort of like the Mexico thing. Yeah,
I'm from Brazil.
Beer strictly.
I'm from Brazil.
Coffee and beer. That's it.
You don't drink the tap water in Brazil either. You have to boil it and stuff.
Yeah.
Or get like every apartment has like the heavy duty filter system and all that stuff.
Like even lettuce or something is super sketchy in a lot of places, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why I don't eat salads. You know, it's just for my protection.
No, lettuce in particular, like I'll mess with cucumbers, avocado, tomato, but the lettuce is where it could all go bad, right?
I'm definitely never eating salad again. Thank you, Norm. Why are you going to Nicaragua? Are you doing a visa run?
No, just going to kick it. I used to live there in 2013.
Of course.
And hopefully I come back with 2 new podcasts. I
Nice.
have 2 friends up there.
Nice.
One of them is Nicaraguense, right? He's basically the mayor of this little town, and he used to be like this street brawler, just like 13 years old, beating up grown men in bars and stuff in San Juan del Sur.
Nice.
And now he's like selling real estate, and which is basically the same thing when you think about it, you know.
Beating people up for their money.
And I have another friend, a gringa from California, and she actually was an attorney in California and said, screw it. And back in like 2013, I think she moved down to Nicaragua. I met her at a bar on her very first day in Nicaragua, and we became friends. And she's lived there ever since, like 8 years later, whatever. And she's like super local, way more local than me. So I just wanted to get out of Costa Rica, see something different, you know, live a little bit. But it's definitely a different paradigm when you go there. It's not Beverly Hills, a.k.a. Costa Rica, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Well, safe travels for sure.
Yeah.
When are you leaving?
If I don't make it back, you guys get my mics and, you know, all my stuff and, you know.
Fingers crossed. No, that's terrible.
Yeah.
When are you leaving?
Tomorrow morning.
Oh, damn.
I'm in Liberia.
Okay.
I'm in Liberia now. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Word. Well, definitely hit me up when you get back. Try those little things though,
Yeah.
man.
Yep.
Try, you know,
I'm going
since
to test everything out basically now
Yeah.
using you guys' advice. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that'll work great. So, awesome. Well, Norm, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I'm glad you got to meet my homies, my little podcast homies. We hang out every Monday. We talk
I like
about
these cats. We
podcasts.
got to stay in touch.
Yeah,
huh?
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for being
All right.
on, man.
Appreciate
That's
it.
Thank you
awesome.
guys so much. Appreciate it.
Anytime.
Awesome, and we'll make sure we link your podcast in the shows and all and the show notes. The
shows.
shows. That's a new one.
Shows.
Trademark that.
New
shit.
term.
Write it down.
Yes.
people.
Start it here.
Write it down.
Shows.
Makes sense to me. Yeah.
That's right. And on that note, we'll catch you on the next one. See you guys.
See ya.
See you later, guys. Thanks.